All right, hello everybody, and welcome into the Week 14 playoff committee meeting. And we have our work cut out for us as 8 of the top 10 teams lost this week in the final week of the regular season as we head towards conference championships. This is an utter disaster. So hang with us. It's going to be a very, very tough ranking to put through. We're going to do it the best way we can. So if you're listening to this afterwards, listen to the full thing before yelling at us, right? As you see kind of how we dissect this. So I think to start, as always, we're going to start with going through each division and just kind of picking out the teams we think are going to be rankable, and then we'll go back through one by one and figure this thing out. So we'll start in the ACC. Buffalo lost this week. They are not going to their conference championship as they lost the tiebreaker to Boston College. So, but Buffalo obviously still going to be ranked. They're 10-2, so I'm going to write them down. Do we consider ranking Boston College this week? We know they're 5 losses. Do you want me to write them down or no?
I I think we kind of have to rank them simply because they're one game away from getting an auto berth in the CFP.
Well, if you look at this, they have 4 really high quality losses if you think about it, 2 of which were in overtime. Iowa State, UNC on the road, and then 2 other big losses. And then they beat Pitt, they beat Clemson, and then they beat Buffalo. So not as terrible as the resume as I thought, so I will write them down. Remember, we now can consider all of division wins as like pluses to a resume, right? So I'll put them down. I think the only other rankable team in this division, I don't think Clemson is rankable at this point. 8-4 is not going to do it unless you're on the top side. But Pitt, I think, does deserve a ranking. They're on a 5-game win streak. Beat Penn State. I think they are worth writing down. I mean, you're a Power 5 9-win team, right? You probably should be ranked.
Yeah, write them
Agreed.
down.
Okay. I don't think anybody else. And then in Coastal, Georgia Tech lost this week, but they did win the division. Obviously, we're still going to write them down. East Carolina won this week. We ranked them last week, so no reason not to write them down. They had a big win over NC State. North Carolina took care of business this week in a close game over Virginia. Write them down, 10 wins. NC State, not rankable. So in the ACC, right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that we're considering rankable. And the American, we think obviously it's going to be Cincy is going to be the only one. Cincy, they're 11-1. Nice 21-point win over Miami, Ohio this week. Army lost, and Western Kentucky won their conference, so or their division. So that would be a nice potential win for Cincinnati. The Big 12, big time. We've got. Remember, none of the division winners are technically finalized. I got to go through with Rick if there's any ones that don't make sense, so we can really figure them out. But we've got Nebraska here. Is likely the champion, 8-4. We ranked them last week. Might as well rank them again. I still can't believe all the dominoes that had to fall for them to win this division. Iowa State, man, what a fall from grace. I'm still gonna write them down, but their playoff chances are in dire straits. I don't think you rank on Missouri here.
No, Missouri.
All right, going down south, Baylor. Remember, I don't know for sure who wins this division. The Big 12 still up in the air, but I'm pretty sure it's Oklahoma State. Got to finalize that, but OK State at 9-3 as well. We're just gonna assume what I've been saying is correct because I went through this for about 40 minutes, but we'll see. But Baylor and Oklahoma State, you don't rank TCU, I don't think. Big 10, we've got. What a loss for Michigan, man.
Yeah.
10-2.
It's a big loss. It's a big loss, but in reality, it's not a big loss.
Yeah. Now, okay, here's the thing. Do we write down... I don't think you write down Penn State because they lost to Michigan and Ohio State recently. Maryland, we ranked them last week. I think you rank them again. They had a big win over Iowa. So they're 9-3. And then I think you might write down Ohio State here.
Yeah.
They beat Michigan just now, number 2 team in the country. Might be worth a look at least. We can always eliminate them later, but
Yeah, it's worth writing Ohio State down.
I feel like OSU and Penn State could be like fillers for like the final 5.
all right, I'll write down Penn State. We'll take a look, but Iowa. Okay? So we ranked them last week, but they lost to Maryland. Do you? I mean, if you look at their final 4 game or like, this is a weird schedule now. They do have a chance to win the Big Ten, but do you rank them? I don't know, but I am gonna write them down just because they are a division winner. Minnesota, you write down. A lot of fringe teams here in the Big Ten. Nobody else. So there's 6 teams in the Big Ten. Conference USA, I remain in the camp that none of these teams deserve a ranking, unless you guys feel otherwise. But I just feel like 3 losses in the G5 this year is just not going to cut it.
Yeah, no,
Agreed.
I think they're good.
Independent, do we consider ranking BYU? I know we're going to consider ranking Miami. They beat Utah this week.
Yeah, what's their schedule? Just see how many Power 5 teams they've played.
So they
Baylor to
lost to
OT.
Syracuse, lost to Oregon, beat some 2-win teams. It's not a lot of... a lot of their wins are against 1- and 2-win teams. So their best wins is Bowling Green and Utah. I don't think this is worth a ranking.
Nah.
This is a very poor team. Poor schedule.
There's the same amount of 1-win teams on there as there is teams over 500. So I'm not going to rank them.
Yeah. And the MAC, you got Ohio here for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe the biggest winner this week is the group of 5s. They got what they needed for the G5 auto bid, and now they got a lot of other teams losing. Central Michigan, I don't think so. Mountain, once again, Fresno.
Should be just Fresno.
11-1.
Who did Hawaii lose to? I wanna know. I know they lost to Fresno.
Lost to Fresno, Miami, and Mizzou on the Hail Mary. All right, Pac-12. You got to rank Oregon still.
Oregon still got to be ranked. And then USC. And I honestly think that should be it for the Pac-12.
And unless, I'm going to write down Stanford because they are a 9-win.
9-win
Power 5. Let's just look at what they got here quickly. So, lost to Arizona, which is kind of rough. ASU also rough, and then the USC win. But they do have the Oregon win. Utah win is nice. Wisconsin win. I mean, it's not the worst schedule in the world.
Yeah, I think they can. I think they can at least be ranked down. I'm not entirely sure if they get ranked.
All right, SEC time. It's Tennessee for sure. At 8-4, they won the division. Florida, I'm still gonna write down.
Yeah.
And I'll still write down Auburn. Some of these teams might fall out of top 25. I feel like we have way too many teams this year. And same with like Alabama. Gotta write them down.
I was just about to say, after beating Auburn, I feel like they deserve it.
And it's Alabama. I mean, come on. Georgia 7-5. Do we write them down? Like, look at these wins. They have ECU. They have Tennessee. They have Oklahoma. They have Georgia Tech. But then they also have losses to some weird teams like South Carolina, Arkansas State.
I think 5 losses might be too much if you're not.
Yeah, with this season. Yeah, this season, I think. All right, Texas for sure. A&M. I am going to write down Oklahoma, but...
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Oklahoma
nobody
could
else.
Sneak in.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we go to the Sun Belt. So SBC. All right, Coastal. Still gonna write them down. Not sure if we will wind up ranking them, but they've been ranked all year. They're number 10. Still write them down. Southern Miss 11-1. Avi.
Jeez, the game's got them at 1.
then I'm going to put Arkansas State in here as well. We didn't rank them last week, but they're 10-2 for crying out loud. Deserve a shout. No to them. Okay, so before we get into the rankings, let me just count how many teams we wrote down. This is how many teams we deem rankable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33.
Oh boy.
Oh, this
The
is a
bubble is
tough year. There's going to be 9 and 3
bubble is
teams
so
in the Power
hard.
5 that are not ranked. That's how good this year is.
Yeah.
This might be the most difficult season of all time. Lock in, folks. So just before we get into the official deliberations, right now I have me, I have Pizza, I have Flame, and Jackie Moon. So I can talk about anybody, Pizza can talk about anybody, Jackie Moon can talk about anybody, Flame cannot talk about Baylor. All right. So I think number 1 is still Baylor. Does anybody want to challenge that?
No, I think their loss does not discount. They have 5 top 15 wins.
Yeah, it's really hard with if Michigan or Buffalo or what was the number 4 that lost? I swear.
Georgia Tech.
Times. And maybe not Georgia Tech, but if Michigan or Buffalo won, I would have probably put them above Baylor. But I
agree.
don't. But since so many teams lost, I really don't think that it hurts Baylor that much. They've had such a good schedule, such a good year that a loss here doesn't discredit that.
I think that the strength of schedule, especially considering, like you said, everybody else losing, the only teams you would consider putting above Baylor is Texas, who has they have the direct 23-point win over, and Southern Miss, who, despite being 11-1, is still a G5 team. And I mean, they beat Fresno, who don't pay attention to that top 6 ranking, but they beat Fresno, which is a good win. At Texas is an amazing win, right? And then, but the loss to LA Tech, I think, 10 wins against Arkansas State and Coastal. I mean, I think it's so close, but I think you put Baylor over them right now. Now, remember, right now, we're still ranking 1 through 25. Next week, when we have conference championships, Baylor will be ineligible for that number 1 seed. So this doesn't necessarily matter because Baylor is locked out of their conference championship, unless I'm missing something with the division race. I got to lock it in with Rick, but this won't matter next week. But I still think Baylor by a sliver when you consider the resume.
Yeah, I think there's too much with Baylor that it's like Southern Miss. I think should definitely be it should definitely be up there.
Well, I think number 2 and 3 are pretty easy. I mean, you have the 2 teams that beat Texas, Baylor and Southern Miss, and then Texas at 3. I think that's pretty fair. Does anybody?
Pretty fair.
Fine.
Flame, are you happy with Southern Miss and then Texas?
That works.
Because, I mean, it's a head-to-head, both comparable.
Yeah.
I like Texas a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you take out head-to-head.
Here's the thing. Southern Miss beat Texas, so I'd put Southern Miss too. So.
All right.
What's Buffalo's schedule?
So-
I know we had them below Michigan last week.
So let's look. Right now we have Baylor, Southern Miss, and Texas off my board here. So let me just cross them out so I can stay relevant here. Okay. So, and then when you look at last week's rankings, which I'm going to have these pulled up here on my phone just so I can see them. We did rank Michigan over Baylor last week. Now, we can go, I think, any number of ways because all these teams lost. So, all right, let me just find it. Okay, so next we had Michigan, Buffalo, Georgia Tech, Oklahoma State, and so on. Now, if you think about who lost to who, you have Buffalo, I think, should drop a little bit. They lost to a 3-win Syracuse, and they are not a division winner now, and we can consider that. On the other side, for Ohio, or for Michigan, they lost to a good Ohio State team. I mean, not amazing, but an 8-win, right? A much better win, or a much better loss, even though it was at home, and they still have their division win, so they are still playing next week. So I think when you're comparing Michigan and Buffalo, I still think Michigan probably should be in front, but I don't know if they get ranked here.
What about UNC, since they actually won this week?
I mean, that's quite a steep jump.
UNC's still 10-2, and like Michigan and Buffalo are still currently 10-2, and UNC really hasn't had that good of a schedule. I think
that's what
Michigan.
I wanted to look at.
So I mean, does a 4-point win over a Virginia constitute moving up 10 ranks?
No.
Despite
No.
I mean, but they also gained a game on everybody except for Texas and Southern Miss. They gained a game on everyone.
Look,
everybody else lost.
I absolutely think North Carolina should move up, but to 4.
This is where it gets rough.
Off a 4-point win over Virginia. I get they gained a game on a lot of people, but I don't consider North Carolina better than a Michigan or a Buffalo or an OK State in this stage. I
was just wanting to look at their schedule since.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think it should be Michigan or Buffalo. Probably Michigan, then Buffalo still.
But do you do that here? That's the thing. Like, do we take a look at Fresno? Do we take a look at Cincinnati? Like, these are teams that are one loss. I don't think at this stage.
I think we can take a look at Fresno.
But like, I think it's fine putting Michigan here. But Buffalo lost to a 3-win team. That's
fair. I'm considering doing. I think Michigan here is fine, because the rivalry game against Ohio State is that game is always throws records and rest of season out the window. So
this is what's weird though, is like, I'm also thinking a team like Oklahoma State, they're ranked 6th last week. They lost to Oklahoma, but they gain the division title. They could move up maybe to 5, stay put at 6. Like, I don't know who goes where, because I think it comes down to which losses are worse. Because like a 7-point loss to Oklahoma is not as bad as this 3-point loss, or this loss to 3-win Syracuse from Buffalo. Like, how far does Buffalo fall? We might have to answer that. Because, like, Iowa State lost in OT to a bad team.
Could you take a peek at Fresno's schedule whenever you get a chance?
Yeah, let's take a look here.
Honestly, their only loss was in week 1 overtime to the number 2 team in the country. But I feel like they haven't played anyone else.
That Minnesota win does get elevated here because they won, but I don't think it's top 10. I wouldn't read into that. Then they go on a streak with blowing out 0-2 1-win team. They get a quality win on the road against New Mexico. They'll play them again. Kansas State, who just beat Baylor, or Iowa State, I mean, they won. Beat UNLV, beat Hawaii.
They've been murdering teams.
And none of these are 2-score games. Or none of these are 1-score games, I mean. Their last 1-score game was Minnesota. Right? Yeah, 20 points,
Honestly,
27, 17. I mean, all right, I'm going to write down Michigan, though. I think Michigan at 4 still
Michigan
makes
sense. Michigan at 4 is the move. Fresno, I think, could absolutely go either 5 or 6. But
jumping this high is...
Everyone lost.
But I mean, everyone lost.
Yeah.
Like they were what? They were what? 14?
Before we commit to that, because that would raise some eyebrows, right? Before we commit, let's look at everybody else who lost in front of them, who they lost to, and how bad that actually is for their resume. So, like Buffalo, we know, lost to Syracuse. Just want to do our
Oklahoma
due
State
diligence.
lost to OU,
But yeah,
and
so
that was a good loss.
now their best wins are Army, Pitt. Georgia Tech on the road is not as good as last week. Boston College, they lost. Then Clemson and ECU. They have five quality wins, 2 of which are going to be ranked, ECU and Georgia Tech most likely. And then 2 losses, 1 to a 7-win team and a 3-win team. And then Georgia Tech was our next highest ranked team last week. They just got throttled by Georgia. So the win over UNC, they probably would still be above UNC, I would think, based on head-to-head. They beat East Carolina. They lost to Buffalo, so probably still that sequence. You're going to want to go Buffalo, Georgia Tech, and then UNC potentially, if we want to follow that kind of circle of suck, I guess.
But do we want to credit UNC for actually winning this week?
Well, I think if you're doing, like, for instance, the way I view a top 25 poll is different than the committee rankings. Because, like, remember, this is more resume rather than all
That's
recency bias, you know? So I think there's definitely a portion of that. Like, some of these teams should be punished for losing. But how badly, you know what I mean? Because they've all... team... So, like, after Buffalo and Georgia Tech, then's Oklahoma State. We already looked at them a little bit here, but a close loss to Oklahoma I don't think kills them. Especially because now they like, walked into the division win, it seems like. They lost by 1 point to Nebraska, beat Iowa State, lost to still some good wins here. But
those losses being against pretty good teams, considering how, like, the Nebraska loss is just getting better and better.
Correct.
And they have a chance. Like, now that Nebraska managed to win the division, I think that loss against Nebraska has been elevated a whole lot more.
This is a team that beats who they're supposed to beat. They beat the bad teams. And then if you look at the quality of this schedule, man, Temple technically 6 wins, Arkansas 6 wins, Arizona 7, TCU 7, Kansas State 6, that's 5. Then you got Baylor, Nebraska, ISU, and Oklahoma. That's 9 quality games. They've went 6-3 in them. So...
And they haven't lost the
pretty
game
good.
by more than a score, too. So I think Oklahoma State could definitely be.
That's what I'm thinking is that Oklahoma State, I don't think is a team that gets hit by this loss too badly.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you just forgive it, but now let's look at Iowa State, because Iowa State's just in a free fall. They were 9-0. They've lost to Nebraska, Oklahoma State, and now Kansas State in OT. I think this one hurts them quite a bit, because if you look, you got Boston College on the road, which has turned into a much better win than originally thought. Iowa in overtime, Missouri, Arkansas, West Virginia. That's 5 quality wins, and then TCU. That's 6 quality wins, but none of them are going to be ranked, except maybe Boston College. So I think they drop a little bit with this Kansas State loss. It's 3 straight losses. I think you punish them a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have to be behind Nebraska and OK State, in my opinion.
I think for sure they have to be behind Oklahoma State, but I don't know about Nebraska. Maybe...
Well, did Nebraska ever head over them?
Nebraska throttled them.
We'll get to that in that tier. Let's figure out the top first before we start doing that. Welcome in, Dogwater.
Yeah,
so if you're just joining us, we still are putting Baylor at 1. Then we have Southern Miss and Texas. Dude, the entire top 10 lost except for Southern Miss and Texas.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so, like, I'm not gonna say anything against it. It's just like I didn't realize that, like, the resumes were that fucking bad that Baylor can stay at number 1.
I'll just show you Baylor's, Michigan, A&M, Texas, Oklahoma State, and they put up a 70 burger too. So that's why.
Okay.
But okay.
You really had to go back for that, dog.
I mean, like, I'm not against it or anything. I just didn't realize, like, how bad the resumes were this season.
There's no more one-loss Power 5 teams.
Level.
There's no more one-loss Power 5 teams. That's how
insane
bad it is. And we are gonna have some 9-3 teams that don't make the top 25. All right. So next up in the teams that lost is Auburn. So let's look at them. All right, so Auburn 9-3. They have the Florida State win we thought was great, and then it just fell off a cliff. Sorry, Jackie, but Tennessee loss is bad. Arizona's their first quality win. They have the win over Florida, so they do have to be ranked ahead of them still. The Texas loss was rough. They beat Georgia, though, and then lost to Bama. So 3 quality wins, a loss to Bama. I don't know how high we'll rank Bama, but I think Auburn is going to drop a little bit. I don't think there's any staying power for them right now. Coastal is going to drop a lot, probably out of the top 25, unless we decide that the wins against Ohio State, Nebraska, Utah are all still very good. They still have a win over Georgia Southern as well in Troy. Or they lost to Troy. But, okay. So, they're going to drop a little bit. And then we got Florida. So, let's look at Florida. 9-3. The loss to Tennessee. Quality win against LSU. They did beat Alabama. Lost to Auburn. They beat Georgia. And then they lost this critical one to Miami. So, I think Florida as well probably drops a little bit.
Right, we have a circle of talk between Florida.
Okay, dude, the SEC
Auburn.
East is fucking disgusting. What the?
Yeah, and then we already looked at UNC, but we'll take a look at them again. They are one of the only teams to win, so they are going to move up here. But their resume is not great. The Boston College is bad. NC State, okay. Their best win is NC State and Boston College. There's nobody else. The 2 hard teams on the schedule they lost to. So that's
This is so ugly. Oh.
And then the only other team to look at that loss before we talk about Fresno State, who we were just talking about, is A&M. Now A&M 9-3, the loss to Baylor, whatever. LSU is a loss. TCU is their next best win, and then Oklahoma. So 2 quality wins here, and then the loss to Texas. It was close, but not close enough. And then you get into Fresno State, and then Oregon loss, and then Cincinnati. So, okay, out of the teams we were talking about, the only teams that we were like, okay, this team kind of has a resume where I kind of want to still keep them in the same range is Oklahoma State. Outside of that, everybody else were kind of falling down. So, do we want to move Oklahoma State to 5?
What about Fresno? Or is that too much of a jump?
I feel like Fresno State. So if we look at if you look at it Dogwater, if you look at the dire situation we're in, you have their only loss is to overtime against our number 2 team in the nation. They have a win over Minnesota, who will be ranked in the teens. And then they've beaten everybody else by 2 scores at least. Now they have wins over New Mexico, UNLV, Hawaii's their best win.
I'm sorry, it's hard for me. Like I'm a big advocate of like the 1-loss or undefeated teams, and always have been. But at a certain point, you're playing the Mountain West.
That's true.
The level of competition between them and the rest of these schools is like, I understand they're 11-1. And like I said, I'm a big advocate for that, but I just can't ignore the fact that these guys are out here playing in a slaughterhouse, and they're over here prancing through a prairie.
The fact of the matter is, too, here.
Lost Power 5 teams. They all lost.
We all have. Everybody's
right, but
2 loss or worse.
Kind of said, even when it comes to the G5, like it takes more than a 1 game difference between them for them to overcome such a bad schedule.
I agree.
Like 2 game difference.
But
like we're talking Oklahoma State is 9-3.
So like Cincinnati, they had a dire loss to Temple. That's horrific. But TCU's become an okay win. Army's good.
Can we compare directly
college.
Fresno and Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I mean, so let's go to Oklahoma State 9-3. They have a win over Arizona. That's quality. Temple technically quality. Arkansas quality. TCU. K-State, that's 5. Then they lost to Baylor, lost by 1 point to Nebraska, and then beat Iowa State on the road, and then lost to OU at home. So that's 6 quality wins, their best win being Iowa State, and then 3 losses to Baylor, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. Is that good
See,
enough
that's
to be ranked
okay.
number 5 in the country? I don't know,
No.
but there's nobody else.
I don't know, but the problem is so many people lost. Like we've already ranked Baylor, Michigan, Southern Miss, Texas. Buffalo lost, Oklahoma State lost, Iowa State lost, Auburn lost, Coastal lost, Florida lost, A&M
Yeah, but are we
lost,
also taking into effect
Oregon
like
lost.
who they lost to? Because that I feel like that's a
Yeah.
pretty big deal.
Well, that's why
Yeah,
I'm thinking Oklahoma State still is going above Buffalo, because Buffalo has less losses, but the 3-win Syracuse loss is horrific. They also lost to Boston College, and the best win is Georgia Tech, who's going to drop a little bit here. Oklahoma State on the other hand, their losses are all good teams. You got Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Baylor, and then they have the same amount of quality wins. They actually have one more, and that Iowa State win is comparable to Georgia Tech. I'd still put Georgia Tech over Iowa State, but I think for me, I think Buffalo drops a little bit here because of their loss to Syracuse. It's not an okay loss.
I think we go Oklahoma State, Buffalo 5 and 6.
That
Yeah,
is
that's how I
wild.
would. My biggest thing would. I don't know about Buffalo being over Fresno because of the fact that Fresno actually does have an 11-1 schedule, but the only reason I'm saying Oklahoma State at 5 is because of the fact that if you look at their schedule again, look at how many ranked teams they have on their schedule.
Yeah,
I understand they lost a couple of them, but
3 out of 4 of them, though.
Yeah, they did, but like I said, they take care of business against who they're supposed to be, and they don't have cupcakes. The worst team on this schedule is Kansas, and then every other game besides Tulsa is a quality win or a quality game. They got 9 quality games on this schedule. Or no, Texas Tech's on there. Never mind. They got 9 quality games, and they won 2 out of 3.
I mean, if you have like what's your argument for Fresno besides just 11-1? Like, I'd really like to hear
the
that,
blowouts.
because you do have me interested.
I mean, go ahead.
Here's my argument for it: is 1, their only loss is an overtime blemish in week 1. They then were able to beat another top 25 team, because Minnesota will probably find its way ranked in our ranking. And then they've gone on to blow teams out. And there's some good Mountain West teams. Hawaii is solid.
Is this their schedule right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, shit, you pulled it up. Yeah. UNLV, it's fine. I don't know. It's mostly just the fact that they have, like, if you're going to play in the group of 5, you better blow out everyone, and they have done that.
Okay,
and
I would say
it also blows my mind that we're going to move Oklahoma State up a spot after a loss, which is just like, that might be what we have to do, and fair enough, because everyone else lost. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah. And
it is funny, and in most situations we would move them down, but so many people lost that I genuinely don't see how we move them down.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio. Yeah, I mean, this
was
going to
be around the spot no matter what. But I do see what he's saying, because when I was looking at Fresno's schedule, I was trying to count while y'all were talking. I was counting all their quality wins. I mean, they're not far behind Oklahoma State in terms of quality wins.
The way this week fell was the best fucking case scenario for every G5 contender, because all of these Power 5 teams lose, and then Coastal lost, so you still have the chance of them knocking off Southern Miss, but now they may not even need it, because we're in such a terrible situation that we're going to have to put Cincinnati, Fresno State up in here. Potentially. And like, if you're talking about Fresno State blowing people out, you got to talk about Cincinnati winning these games 70-17, 77-14.
I think Cincinnati's loss is just too much to put them.
But look, since they lost, so they had their quality wins were at the beginning of the year. TCU just beat Baylor. You got Boston College, who's a division winner. Army, that's 3 quality wins there. You lose to Temple, okay, we think they're gone. But then they rattle off every single one of these games. You win this game by 53, win this one by 11, then 27, 49, fucking whatever that number is what is that, 63?
It's like
34, 21. And none of these are quality, but they're blowing the fucking doors off them. So if you're crediting Fresno for some of these blowouts, then you gotta credit then you got to credit Cincinnati too. And the thing is this is such the perfect storm for the Group 5. I think that last week we were talking about maybe the Sun Belt winner and then maybe a chance for the others. I didn't think we had 8 out of 10 teams losing in front of them on our bingo card, right? So I'm more on the
Cincinnati,
train.
or Cincinnati Fresno than Oklahoma State, since Oklahoma State lost.
I mean, I'm not gonna put. I don't think that we should be ranking these teams this high. I'm more on the train of probably go Oklahoma State and then Buffalo, and then consider these teams at 7. Because 5, I think, is just a bit too rich of a jump.
Yeah, it's weird though. It's just because it feels like we're supposed to be punishing teams, but we can't on some of them, and then it's like we can't reward some teams when we should be. Like, I don't know. It's just a weird feeling.
Yeah, it's
I mean, the problem is there's too much to punish and too little to reward.
That's what I mean. It's like there's not enough punishment to be able to go around.
Well, I think that there's
not.
Or go ahead.
I'm just gonna say like I'm not that scared of like moving a team way up or moving a team way down, because so many teams lost that like if they deserve to be rewarded by the next spot, and that spot is 10 spots ahead of where they were last week, I'm okay with that.
I am too, but when you're talking specifically about the Group of 5, it's a little bit harder. I think that once again, if you look at Cincinnati's total strength of schedule, it's so much worse. Like here, there's another way we can look at this here.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me with these teams is like if like just a G5 schedule 9 times out of 10 is just not comparable to a P5 schedule in terms of like
UTSA. Look at that, 56 and 88, disgusting. All right, so first let's look at Buffalo, 66-78. Not the best schedule, if we're being honest here. If you look at, then who is the next team we're talking about? Oklahoma State. 78-66, almost the complete opposite. And then let's take a look at Fresno here.
And Cincinnati as well.
65-69, that's very close to Buffalo. And then Cincinnati, 61-83, a little bit worse than both of those. So I think this shows that Oklahoma State, even though they lose, is deserving still of a ranking.
I'm okay with that. I'm not arguing at all.
Right? I mean, and then Georgia Tech here. I mean, we can also rank Georgia Tech still, but I think getting throttled by Georgia deserves to lose a little oomph. Right?
Yeah, I feel like that's the kind of like the new trend we have to follow for this week is like, okay, I know you lost, but how bad? Like,
yeah. Okay, so right now I'm going to write down. We can always come back if we think of something, but I'm going to go Oklahoma, I'm going to go Buffalo, and then Fresno and Cincy. Is that correct?
I'm okay with that. That's so funny.
I think that's kind of what we have to do. I mean,
it's the perfect storm. This is the perfect storm for these teams. Unbelievable.
That also is essentially, we're basically saying that if Cincinnati and Fresno win their conferences, they're in the playoffs, and we might have 3 teams.
That's what we're gonna have to.
Okay.
That's what we're committing to. I mean,
we're all committing to that.
Yeah, and that's That's how good the G5's been this year. I mean, that's how big.
G5 has been fantastic, though.
The Sun Belt's basically been a Power 5.
Yeah, the Sun Belt champ probably makes their way in now, or if it's Southern Miss, into the top seed. If they win.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back here. Okay, so now let's look. I'm just going to kind of look at where we are. So, Georgia Tech from our last rankings is the highest team unranked. Then we also have not ranked Iowa State, Auburn, Coastal, Florida. So this is where you can start considering Georgia Tech, then North Carolina range. I think that's probably the next 2, if we're being honest. Georgia Tech and UNC?
Yeah, I think that's...
But the thing
think that's
is,
good.
UNC doesn't have a good resume. Like, they're just
That's-
lucky that they're not losing. See, that's the problem. Is like, resume-wise, are they better than a Iowa State, or is recency bias enough to knock down
but
Iowa State?
to be fair, if you go back to North Carolina, they did also blow out like a lot of people.
Yeah, some bad. I mean, they were number 1 at one point, but then you
I mean,
also
there
look
was a
at
couple of bad games too. Like I agree, and like I'm not trying to say anything really, I guess, positive about them. I was just noticing that, like looking through it, like they did blow a lot of people out.
Yeah, the problem with this is one of those resumes where it's like you didn't have a lot of opportunities and you didn't win either of the big games you had. They
Yeah,
beat Boston
rough.
College and you beat NC State, which is great, but no ranked wins unless we rank BC like towards the back. So
I just think that we have to have I'm fine with putting Georgia Tech above them,
No,
but it's
no
so
way.
many.
Georgia Tech
Georgia
has to be
Tech-
above UNC.
Georgia Tech above UNC.
Oh yeah, they beat. Nah, never mind.
They
I
beat them.
I hate
Yeah,
Georgia Tech's resume. I'm sorry, I hate it with a passion.
I mean, losses are Western Kentucky, Buffalo, and then Georgia, all 7+ win teams. They have a win over UNC, they have Army, they have ECU, and they have UNC, which is their crown jewel pretty much, and NC State. So they have 5 quality wins, 3 bad losses. Well, not bad, but one's okay.
And a couple
the
of these
Buffalo
like
one.
not very good teams, but they're still considered quality. Like they barely beat them.
Well, yeah,
One score games.
but they did what they needed to do.
No, I agree. It's just I just don't like Georgia Tech's schedules. I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't
It's
like
just
any
like,
of these
look, I
resumes this year.
understand- Yeah, it's like look, I get that you don't like the resume, but whose resume do we really like anymore?
We can't.
You fucking got
the
me there. I
Pac-12
don't really know.
The Pac-12's cooked. The only other teams to consider at this range is if you want to consider a. I mean, okay, let's look at Miami here. They got a big win this week. They're worth getting a look at.
Yeah,
We
I'm
ranked
about to
them in
say
the back
Pac-12 's
half. Now they are similar to Fresno State in the fact that their quality wins are a 3-loss team, like Florida's 3-loss, Minnesota's 3-loss, and then Hawaii. They both beat Hawaii, right? So, but Miami, the rest of the schedule is diabolically bad. Like 2 wins, 5-5. Fresno State's a
2
loss, or
losses to
Florida State's a loss.
non-bowl.
Virginia's a loss. Their only other quality win is San Diego State, and Kansas State. So the resume got a little bit better this week, but I don't know if it's good enough.
The problem is losing to FSU and Virginia are
Not
2
great.
horrendous losses.
So I think they move up to somewhere teams.
Those 2 losses, dear Christ.
Yeah, so I think they moved to somewhere in the teens, but not up here at 9. So I think we can eliminate them.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like what y'all did with Illinois. Like I can understand ignoring like 1 really bad loss, but I
Yeah,
can't
2.
get behind 2.
All
Like, I
right,
just
so
can't do it.
so the only other teams to think about are the SEC teams or Maryland. They have the loss to Michigan and Minnesota, so Minnesota you probably have to put above them. LSU and Louisiana are technically quality wins. Those are fringe. Penn State they lost, and then they beat Ohio State and they beat Iowa. So 4 good wins. I don't know if they're good in this range. Do we want to talk about Minnesota? Do they find a way back in? I mean, they lost to Fresno. Beat Ball. Overtime for Illinois. They beat Maryland. That's a good win. Lost to Michigan. They beat Ohio State, though, and then lost to Iowa. So they only have 3 quality wins. Wisconsin, then 4. See, these look all like teen rankings. Like nobody's top 10-esque. Like, okay, so also we got to talk about where do we start ranking Tennessee and Nebraska? Because they're in their conference championships, but I don't think here.
8-4?
I know. Florida, they lost to Miami this week. They were number 11 last week. Lost to Tennessee. They did beat Bama. Lost to Auburn. Beat Georgia. Or you could go, Alabama, go from unranked to up here. Wins against Oregon State and Georgia. Lost to Florida, Tennessee. Then they beat Auburn.
It's not a bad schedule, to be honest. Though.
Whoa! It's a horrid schedule.
I mean, like compared to everything we've been seeing, like their only 2 losses are to ranked teams.
I think they're rankable, but and then Auburn here.
I'm not saying here. I'm just saying, like compared to everything we have just looked through, they're the only ones that have like losses. Are like, okay, I can see you losing this game.
And then
I'm still on the train of Georgia Tech, UNC 9 and 10.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we got to go, unless you look at Coastal.
I'm okay with it. It's just this is the most disgusting top 10 I've ever seen in my life.
This is not a good year to be on the committee.
It's disgusting, but you really don't have much to go off of.
This is not a fun year. Okay, I'm gonna pencil in UNC and Georgia Tech here. God, dude,
really gonna make us earn it for the last NCAA playoff committee.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're in this range where we can start moving teams around. So from last week, we got Iowa State still. You got Minnesota and Maryland in play. You've got Miami in play. I don't think Ohio has any schedule to where that they should be ranked. So I don't think so. But they can still make the playoff technically if Southern Miss, Fresno, and Cincinnati all lose next week. They could, yeah, that's ridiculous. I know.
You never know. We can start.
At this point, nothing is ridiculous.
We can start talk about the Pac-12, even though they weren't ranked higher than 15 last week. Then you can also start talking about
lose?
Tennessee.
USC won. Oregon.
USC won. Oregon lost. Yeah. You can start talking about Florida, Auburn still here. Tennessee, though, you can consider the division win, and they have the head. Okay, I'm just going to say Tennessee should probably be above Florida and Auburn. They have the head-to-head over both, and they now have the division.
I understand honoring head-to-head, but at what point does, like, the rest of your body being such shit work?
So they also, if we're thinking about all the head-to-heads here, Tennessee shouldn't be ranked above Nebraska. They're all in the same era. Shouldn't be ranked above Oregon.
No.
Or but they should be ranked ahead about Florida and Auburn, and they beat Bama, like that, and they beat Oklahoma. I think Tennessee should be probably not here, but maybe around 15.
That I agree there. That I agree with. 15, absolutely.
So that means you put. I mean,
can we just leave a few spots blank?
Yeah, I mean, I wish. And this is the most important piece of the ranking right here, because this is the bubble. This is where we're deciding the bubble.
It's just, who do we put at 11 and 12? None of these teams deserve to be ranked theoretically in the top 12 in the CFP slot.
If we look at Nebraska,
I have to rank some of them.
Beat Tennessee, lost to Coastal.
I feel like Nebraska's a really good bubble team. It's just
they're on a tear.
I get they're on a tear, but it took the world. I mean, it took the world ending overnight for Nebraska to get into their CCG. So I think it's just still a little bit of a stretch to throw them into the elite category right now.
But they do have 6 quality wins. And their losses are all technically to 6+ win teams. Which is horrible.
Yeah, well, Arkansas just lost to me, so that's an automatic horrendous loss.
Yeah. Iowa State, they are in a free fall. They did lose the head-to-head to Nebraska and Oklahoma State and Kansas State.
Okay. My thing with this team is if nobody else gets punished, this team has to, because it's 3 losses in a row. You just have to, at this point, a slap on the wrist isn't enough anymore.
Iowa State's big problem, though, is they don't have a big win. Everybody else we've been talking about has a top 25 win. Unless we rank Boston College in the back half of the top 25, this will not be a ranked. There's no ranked win here. Iowa's we're not going to rank, even though they're in a CCG.
They did play a shit ton of fucking quality opponents.
Yeah, I mean, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a very similar schedule to Nebraska, but you got to consider the 38-point loss to Nebraska. So I think we have to put Nebraska above Iowa State now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Is this we got to decide? Is this the spot to do it?
Is
To
this
start
Nebraska spot at 11?
Nebraska, Iowa State, then you can go to the Tennessee, then you can go to the gaggle of other teams. The other team I do want to look at who did end up winning this week is USC. They're 9-3. They beat Clemson.
No, sir.
I don't want any
Beat Arizona,
Pac-12
beat Stanford,
top
beat
12.
Utah, but that loss to UCLA is bad. That's like,
Nope.
but beat Notre Dame.
They don't have a win to make up for that loss either. That's my thing with them.
Oregon does have Tennessee. Now, this is another team that lost this week, but might move up because they were 15 last week. Wyoming, Tennessee,
I don't want to move
UNLV.
them from a non-CFP slot into a CFP slot after a loss to Oregon State. That's
Yeah,
just,
no,
like,
I know,
that's
I
really
know,
tough.
I know.
It might genuinely have to be Nebraska. I hate to say it. I just don't know what other team goes here.
I would say potentially Minnesota, maybe.
Let's take a look.
Win over the Terps.
I'm out on the Minnesota train.
One over Iowa State. One over.
I mean, actually,
they at least
yeah,
have that Ohio State win.
They have that win Ohio State and then win against Maryland, and I think I agree with Minnesota.
I don't.
do too, honestly.
I think you go by the best wins remaining, and it's Nebraska.
But what are their losses? Because I feel like
They're
Minnesota
lost to a gaggle of
their-
idiots. That's basically what they're lost.
Okay, the loss for
Two of their
Minnesota
three losses.
is Fresno, who we ranked
Fresno,
at 7.
Michigan, and Iowa.
those are good losses. Like if you're gonna lose,
Yeah.
Michigan,
they're-
Iowa, yeah.
All of their losses are playing in conference championship games.
They do have a big
Yeah.
win over the Terps. Now, where do you rank the Terps, though, when considering all these other teams? Because right now, this next batch of teams is like 11 to 20.
Jesus.
So this
They
team,
did.
True.
They did also beat Ohio State, and they did kill Iowa.
they don't have
but
technically
they
a bad
don't have the
loss either.
head-to-head with
They don't
Minnesota.
have a bad loss. So Maryland's okay, but they don't have a quality win like a lot of other teams. That's the problem here. Is their best win's Ohio State. Like I feel like Nebraska probably would go above this team.
It's just that I also can't put Maryland ahead of Minnesota because of the head-to-head.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
Minnesota 11, I guess.
If we go based off last week's rankings, Minnesota would probably be the next team to put if we're not ranking somebody who lost. And then Maryland, Nebraska, Tennessee. So these teams this week, Tennessee beat Vandy, Nebraska beat Colorado, Maryland beat Iowa. Maryland had the best win this week out of anybody, but Minnesota still won. I'm fine at doing that. Just keeping our rankings as they were last week, just moving them up.
Yeah, Minnesota, Maryland, Nebraska, Tennessee. I like that. I think that's for what it's worth. I think that's the best with what we can do.
I would probably say put Nebraska above Maryland, but still, yeah, those 4, I think. Because I just think for Nebraska, we ranked them last week because they're on a tear, but they do have the best win out of anybody. So I would say Minnesota, I'm still fine putting above them because of the extra loss. But they still have the win over Tennessee. They still have the win over Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Like, that Oklahoma State is number 5.
Okay. Let's lock in Minnesota 11 and then Tennessee 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and then
let's figure out
Nebraska.
the whole Nebraska and Maryland ordeal.
Maryland. My God, dude, these rankings are awful. But we have had years where there was a team that made the Citrus Bowl with 4 losses, if you remember Rick at 9-4. So, all right, let me cross these teams out. So we got Tennessee done.
Yeah, but wasn't he a conference championship team?
Yeah. I mean, Nebraska has a chance to do it.
Yeah, Nebraska can still technically win the Big 12 and get into the
Maryland.
playoffs.
Yeah, but I feel like at a certain point we're kind of rewarding them before they do it.
Well, if they lose, though, they're not making the playoff. They're getting knocked. I mean, at the same time for Nebraska, live, they're one of the best teams in the country. So every game they're going to play left is live, so it's going to be tough to beat them.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm getting on board with putting Nebraska at 12 simply because I think the biggest thing is that they have the Big 12 championship game, and they have a good amount of quality wins. They do have one less win than Maryland, but it's just they have the conference championship game still left, so they're contending.
Okay, so now where we are is I think that this is where you put the gaggle of Iowa State, Auburn, Florida, unless we want to put Miami above them, which I would probably put because they have the head-to-head over Florida. But
I'm
what do
sorry,
you
I
guys?
still think for that absolute garbage fire of a schedule. So
But there is a win over Florida, so I think that Miami should be ranked ahead. Once again, they are 10 wins at this point. You know what I mean?
you're right.
Yeah,
Now, do you put them over Iowa State? Do you put them because Iowa State though they have the quality wins? It's just they fell off a cliff. I would say Iowa State. It's not too bad, but to put
I'm not gonna put Miami over Iowa State. I think
Okay.
Iowa State is fine at 15.
Okay, now let's look
Then we
at
can deal with the gaggle.
Florida and Auburn because all these teams lost this week. But do you
Except for Bama.
the overtime loss to Kansas State, is that worse than being blown out by Bama? Because I mean they had the Florida wins, but Miami beat them by more. But they also beat Georgia, which is quality. Arizona.
They've been blown. Every loss that they've had has been over 20-point loss. Auburn, at least.
I mean, do you consider Alabama here? They
Ohio
lost to
State?
Florida.
No.
No, I don't think so. The wins aren't there for me. Their only big win is Auburn, which, oops.
Those three teams have a ginormous circle of suck, and I hate it.
Yeah. We still got to rank Texas A&M as well. We could consider them here. They lost to Baylor, lost to LSU, and then they obviously just lost to Texas. They have a win over Oklahoma, which is pretty good. They have the win over TCU, and they have, I mean, that's it.
Nothing else.
And Oklahoma. So Oklahoma, TCU, that's their wins. I don't know if that's good enough to put here. And I don't necessarily believe that they were playing all that well either. Do I think that they're better than Auburn and Florida? Maybe. I don't think it really necessarily matters which way we put them, but last week we did put them below both Florida and Auburn. And I think Iowa State at 15 is okay unless you want to punish them a little bit more for 3 straight.
They would get punished more.
But they're dropping 7
if
out
more
of the playoff.
teams won. Yeah, I think they're fine at 15 right now, just because of everything that has happened this week. Like, they'd absolutely get punished more if more teams won, but more teams did not win. So,
I mean, dropping, was this 8 slots is still a big drop. So, okay, I'm fine with that.
Still a big drop.
Then, I guess are we going Miami? I don't know if we can go Miami. I think we use Miami.
I really don't like Miami.
I think we use Miami to split up the teams
Split up
here.
Auburn, Florida. Yeah.
So
I can agree with that.
I think you probably go Auburn. Is probably the top 10 or the top team out of them.
And Auburn beat Florida, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, then definitely Auburn,
has
Miami,
to go
Florida.
over Florida. Miami has to go over Florida. So I'm fine with Auburn 16, Miami 17.
Well, what about I think you put another one up there. What about Texas A&M? Do we put... You go Auburn, A&M, then Miami, and then you can finish with like Alabama, Florida?
I do. Okay, I will say in Texas A&M's favor, they lost to Baylor and Texas are two of their losses. I mean that's a very
Yeah.
understandable 3-loss schedule.
Yeah, number 1 and 3, but then the LSU loss was pretty tough, and then
it's still a quality opponent.
And then they're beating everybody else. They beat Oklahoma, so I mean, I'm fine. I would be fine with putting.
I'm fine with A&M.
I really like A&M over a lot of these teams, to be honest, based off the schedule and then just the teams they lost to. It's incomparable.
Do we just want to?
I just think you give Auburn the benefit of the doubt. They have the better win.
I mean, I'm okay with giving Auburn the benefit of the doubt. I'm not against that at all.
All right, Auburn.
Okay, Auburn 15.
A&M.
A&M 17.
Miami, Florida.
Miami 18.
Right, and then I think we honor the head-to-head between Florida and Alabama here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will be Bama, Florida, then Miami.
Alabama, and then Florida at 20.
Didn't Bama lose to Florida, or did I just see that wrong?
Bama did beat Florida. Or no, they lost to Florida. Sorry. They lost Florida. Let me flip here.
Yeah, Florida's got to be ahead of Bama then.
Yeah. So let me flip those.
So where are we at now?
Florida, Bama. Okay, so let me cross off the teams here. A&M, Bama, Auburn, Florida. Then, oh wait, but where do we put like in this situation? Because we gotta put Iowa State. Got Miami.
We gotta put the big Ohio somewhere.
Well, no. We're at 20 right now. We gotta put USC and Oregon somewhere. So. So
do we want to do
figure
USC
this out
ahead of Bama? Do we want to do USC ahead of Bama and Florida?
Okay, so Oregon.
I think Oregon should be ahead of them.
Maybe Oregon, yeah.
Do you put Oregon back at 15 ahead of Iowa State, or
you have to hear me out? So Oregon may have lost Oregon State this week, but they have the head-to-head over Tennessee, who has the head-to-head over every single body else in this list.
But I also don't think that Oregon should move up for losing.
No,
Oregon
I don't think
State.
they should move up. But
yeah,
I think 15 would be a great spot for them where they don't move at all. Like, yeah, they lost, but so did everybody else. But
and then USC.
I'm honestly fine with 16 for them, for Oregon.
I think 16 might be better.
16's okay with me.
Like, I just don't see them ahead of Iowa State right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think on neutral field, I would pick Iowa State over Oregon. Auburn.
Can we pick them both to lose?
But USC.
And
because I mean, there's
now where do we put USC here in this gaggle? So we ranked them last week, I think at 21, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check.
I do.
We ranked them at 21. They beat Notre Dame. Yeah, I mean, we can. Do you have them above either Florida or Alabama? I don't think so.
No, there's nothing on their schedule. There's just nothing there to put them over.
Okay,
I don't have them.
How about this? Let's keep them above Bama, because Bama we didn't have ranked last week. But there's also no ranked wins here besides Stanford, which we might end up ranking. But
I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and go USC over Bama.
Let's just do that because they also have the division. They can make the playoffs, so...
Yeah.
That's fair.
So they'd stay at the same spot for beating Notre Dame. And then Bama
I
at 22.
should talk to y'all so much about the Arizona-Illinois decision, but I get it now after looking at the schedule.
Yeah, there's no good way to rank teams.
Yeah, there's just nothing there. Like, I understand they're winning what they're supposed to, but like, there's just nothing here.
Okay, so, I mean, we have 3 spots left. We have to put, we have to rank Ohio. So I think they just go here. I think 11 wins for Ohio.
Yeah.
the teams we're talking about are just not very good. But I don't think that they move up more because they don't have a good win besides Central Michigan, which they could double up on. But okay.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with them being here.
So now we're in a spot where we have 2 spots left, and you have Boston College, Pitt, East Carolina. You've got Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa. You've got Coastal. You got Oklahoma, who just beat number 5. We got Stanford as well. So let's go through these 3 lost Power 5 teams just to see, like, if we were considering Oklahoma last week, do they deserve it? They're, what is this?
I
Two
will
out of
say,
their last
Oklahoma State's
6.
a huge win.
It is. They beat LSU. These losses aren't the worst things in the world, but they aren't
That is
the
a
best.
fucking, God, dude, 4 losses out of the last 6. No, you can't reward that. It's a huge win, but I think there's just too much damage done.
I think we can I don't know if you can unrank Coastal. The schedule is still,
Dude,
but the
no,
schedule. You
stop
look at
it.
this: Ohio State, Nebraska, Utah. You've got UCF, and then you also have Georgia Southern. That's 5 plus 9 or 7 plus win teams that you have wins over. You also have a win over UAB. That's 6, and then you have a win over FAU. That's 7. And then you have the loss to Troy and the loss to Southern Miss by a field goal, who's number 2 in the country.
It's not just
But the
loss to
Charlotte
Troy.
loss is bad. The
You
Charlotte
got
loss is
bullied
bad.
by Troy, and then
The
you lose
Ghost
to
of
Charlotte.
Kenzie, the Ghost of Kenzie loss is very bad.
Yeah, I
And
don't
they
know.
went 2-2 to finish their last 4 games. If you really look at it.
If you look at, okay, then we got this one, which is ECU. They beat UNC, that's their calling, and then they lost to Buffalo, Michigan, and Georgia Tech. So, and Georgia. I don't know if
we did have them ranked last week.
we had them ranked last week, but Pittsburgh's 9 wins. Like, how do you leave out a 9-win Power 5 team? They beat Penn State.
Simple. There's too many 9-win Power 5 teams.
They lost to Clemson. They beat North Carolina. Well, they lost to Boston College. All right, let's look at Boston College schedules because they're 7-5, but they won the division. And look at the teams they lost to.
That's my biggest argument for them is even though they're
crazy.
7-5, they won their division.
And
Like,
they
they're
have
going to
wins.
CCD.
They lost to,
They have
though.
wins over Buffalo,
4 of their
Clemson,
losses-
and Pitt.
4 of their losses are the teams that we have currently sitting in the top 15.
Yeah, that's like, come on, man.
And they have a win over our
Buffalo.
current, number 8
6.
in Buffalo?
Number 6. So Oklahoma's win is better, and they have 1 less loss. So I'd probably put Oklahoma above Boston College. But they have the division. Fuck.
Yes, here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. The reason I'm saying Boston College over Oklahoma is, 1, Boston College has clinched their division. They're going to the CCG. They have a chance to make the playoffs, okay? Oklahoma is 2-4 in their last 6 games.
Yeah, it's pretty shit. Do we just rank Iowa as well because they're going to their CCG, even though they've lost 2 in a row? They have the win over Minnesota. They got domed by Ohio State. They they lost to Iowa State. They have no good wins over Wisconsin and Minnesota.
They got completely shut out by Ohio State.
They lost to NC State. Like, Iowa should not be in this position, but somehow
They just have a shit division. That's basically how it is.
Yeah. Ohio State's not at full power, so that's...
Boston College is similar to Minnesota last year, if you remember. They had, like, the craziest schedule of all time. All right, let's look at Stanford, just to make sure we're not leaving any stone unturned. Another 9-win team. And Central Michigan, Arizona is a loss. Win versus Wisconsin. Win versus Oregon. The loss to USC. Then the win to Utah.
It's just another case of nothing there.
Other than Oregon.
The best win's Oregon. So that's a top 25 win over number 16. But
I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
then the Big Ten, I mean, arguably the best win of the week was to Ohio State, who Tulane, Cal, lost to Michigan State. That's horrendous. Iowa, Penn State, lost to Minnesota. lost to Maryland, but then beat. Oh, dude, this resume's so good. I mean, in
This
terms of
resume's
teams,
good and bad in some spots.
Yeah.
Like,
I think Ohio State. There's too many teams that deserve rankings. I think you can make this. Okay, what about Arkansas State? They're 10 wins. Do they deserve a rank?
No, they fell off, didn't they?
the
Like,
fact
aren't they
that
kind of
we-
like a similar to
the fact that
Oklahoma
we have
situation?
Ohio. Oh,
They
the
have
fact that
the
we have
Georgia
Ohio
win.
this low,
They
I
haven't
just, I
1,
don't-
2, Troy 3, 4 quality win. I mean, it's
No,
Iowa-
this is what I mean. Like, that's what I mean. I don't mean they have as many losses. Oklahoma, I mean, like, to look at the last 4 weeks, they go 2-2.
yeah.
It's like I think the biggest thing is the 35-7 loss to UCF is
That's a bad
not
one.
really looking great, and I don't want to reward.
If we're
Arkansas
punishing,
State
if
for
we're
getting a
punishing
5-1
Coastal,
victory versus Memphis.
yeah. So if you're punishing Coastal, you can't put in.
Yeah, you can't reward Arkansas
Okay.
State.
Yeah, I
So,
can't. I still can't put Coastal.
I'm
over
crossing
Arkansas.
them
I still
out.
can't put Arkansas State over Coastal.
I'm crossing Iowa out. I'm crossing Penn State out because they lost to Ohio State, and there's just not enough teams here.
Yeah.
So the teams left I have is Boston College, Pitt, Stanford, Oklahoma, and Ohio State, and ECU.
I think out of those teams, Boston College, I think, should be in the top 25.
I don't think so.
Well, that's just you. They
I think-
0-4 to start the season against 4 teams currently in the top 15, and ever since then they've gone 7-1 with their only loss being a not so great one, but a 7-point loss to Notre Dame.
Now, yeah,
Who
I will
at-
say though, is it doesn't matter because if they win next week, they'll be ranked anyways, and they'll get the auto bid. But, I think that you reward the 2 best wins of the week left, and that's Ohio State and Oklahoma, in my opinion. You beat number 5 and you beat number 4. You know.
I'm
But-
100% down with Ohio State. I really do not know with 2-4 in their last 6 games. Why do we reward Oklahoma?
It's a Power 5 program. I mean, do you
All
go
the teams left
ECU,
here are
who we
Power
ranked
5.
last week? 8-4, lost to Georgia, win over App, win over UNC, lost to Michigan, and then there's only 3 quality wins here for ECU. UNC's number 10, I guess, but okay, I think ECU's out. I think Pitt is out because they lost head-to-head to Boston College. I think Stanford's out. I don't think the Oregon win is close to the other teams. So I think it's a 3-team debate. I think Ohio State's in, but do you put Boston College in or do you put Oklahoma in?
Wait, where are we at now? 20? Are we at 24?
We're at 24 and 25, and I think it's down to
My-
3 teams based on our
I'm big on Boston
conversations.
College at 24. That's my thing.
24?
I get it, but the thing is, they're a division winner, and they're they look at who they played though. You have to look at who they played.
I know who they played, but they've lost those games.
I mean, I get that, but is Ohio State going
All
to
right,
CCG?
I'm fine punishing Jay Jettas, but we'll put Boston College 25. Let's put Ohio State 24. I think that's
entirely
fair.
fine with that. I'm fine with that for me.
God damn it, dude! This is the worst ranking of all time. This is the hardest
It's-
ranking we've
it's-
ever had to do.
It's
all
a
right.
shitty ranking, but we really don't have much to work with here. We have
And I like
so
how it
many
came out.
losses that we
I
have to look at.
like how it came out. But okay, let me go back through. If you have any gripes or you want to go look at 2 teams, shout it out, okay? After I do the rankings. So number 1, Baylor. Number 2, Southern Miss. Number 3, Texas. Number 4, Michigan. Number 5, Oklahoma State. Number 6, Buffalo. Number 7, Fresno State. Number 8, Cincinnati. Number 9, Georgia Tech. Number 10, North Carolina. Number 11, Minnesota. Number 12, Nebraska. Number 13, Maryland. Number 14, Tennessee. Number 15, Iowa State. Number 16, Oregon. Number 17, Auburn. Number 18, Texas A&M. Number 19, Miami. Number 20, Florida. 21 is USC. 22 is Bama. 23, Ohio. 24, Ohio State. 25, Boston College.
I'm fine with that.
The craziest week in
Oregon.
SFA history is the meeting is adjourned. All right, so obviously, please do not leak the rankings before I post them. I'm going to do that right now. And you can attempt to answer questions if you want, but you're going to get major backlash if somebody's mad about something. So just point them to the VOD is typically the best way to handle it. So thank you guys for joining. And just so you guys know, the conference championships will be on Wednesday night. So the final committee meeting will be after that. So 10:30 Eastern PM is typically about what to expect.
Gotcha.